the troopers is our most valuable asset. Since the inception of the organization in 1921, our troopers have been carefully selected and trained for this important service.
The citizens in the rural areas of New Jersey were in the grips of marauders storming through those small towns committing all types of crimes against farmers and those not protected by a big city police department. In the more densely populated areas, labor unions were ruling by fear and intimidation. Seeing state officers in surrounding states like New York, Maryland, and Delaware, the push began for a state police force here in the Garden State. After several years of effort through the legislature, the state police bill was signed into law in March of 1921. Governor Hughes appointed an Army War veteran and West Point graduate to head the newly minted New Jersey State Police. H. Norman Schwarzkopf took the position at just 25 years old and modeled the agency after his cavalry roots. Schwarzkopf boasted an apolitical attitude towards policing and founded the agency on three core principles: honor, duty, and fidelity. Through the 1920s and the 1930s, the state troopers fought, sometimes giving their lives in the process, to build a reputation as a no-nonsense police agency. Troopers combated organized crime, poultry theft, and the rise of the gangster era. At the tail end of its first 10 years, the outfit would adopt the blue and gold color scheme for its uniform. The 1930s would also see the crime of the century with the Lindbergh Kidnapping. This was the first major investigation for the state police, and Colonel Schwarzkopf led the effort to bring the culprits and Bruno Richard Hauptmann to justice. The 1940s saw a marked reduction in personnel as many troopers fought in the Second World War. Budget cuts led to the cancellation of state police classes. Undeterred, the state police continued to build itself as an agency. More and more stations began to pop up across the state. The state police would trade in their horses for black and white troop cars. Now 20 years old, the blue and gold color scheme became synonymous with police professionalism. The 1950s saw the roles of a trooper expand, including more regulatory functions, as well as general patrol work. The New Jersey Turnpike and Garden State Parkway were completed, and the presence of troopers patrolling those superhighways was immediate. With that danger, patrol on motorcycles was discontinued. Troopers would build on their technical expertise and form the Underwater Recovery Unit, the first of its kind by a state police agency in the nation. The last major uniform change would take place at the end of this decade. Boots and breeches would also be phased out for the road trooper. During the 1960s, the state police battled the civil unrest that plagued the nation. Troopers responded to riots in several major cities, which also ushered in a Class B uniform, which is more appropriately designed for the dirty work of policing. The division continued to pave the way in technological advances by establishing an aviation unit, regional forensic laboratories, as well as a dedicated unit to track crime statistics. The 1970s saw as much change to the organization as had happened in the previous 50 years. The troopers would no longer live in the barracks. The academy was moved from the headquarters in West Trenton to a National Guard base in Seagirt. The black and white troop cars were replaced by all white troop cars, and the entire fleet would eventually be outfitted with the now famous blue and gold chevrons on the doors. The division would merge services with the alcohol beverage control, and the state police would assume control over the Capitol Police Force. Casino gaming and related law enforcement activities were also instituted by the state police as Atlantic City began to emerge as a casino hotspot. The 1980s saw great expansion for the division, both in personnel, mission concepts, and in technological advancements. State government leaders made strides to streamline policing efforts across state-level agencies. As a result, the state police formed the Motor Vehicle Bureau after absorbing the Division of Motor Vehicle Police Inspectors, and also formed the Marine Bureau. This unit was staffed by Marine police officers following the consolidation with the previous maritime enforcement agencies. Similar gains in personnel occurred, with the division assuming lead roles following legislation changes in the area of civil defense, moved from the Department of Defense, the Office of Emergency Management, Alcohol Beverage Control, the Casino Control Act, State Bureau of Identification, and enforcement responsibilities at the Meadowlands Sports Complex. Recruit training was moved from the National Guard facility at Seagirt to Fort Dix. 30 troopers graduated with the 96 class, the first and only all-female class in state police history. The division established the Well Trooper program to ensure medical fitness amongst the enlisted members. Traffic enforcement programs were enhanced by the installation of mobile radar units. The Criminal Justice Information System replaced the aging teletype system, and the division switched to a semi-automatic handgun for all personnel. Even more technological advances were realized with a trunked radio system, replacing the HF-VHF system from the 1940s. The eyes of the nation were squarely on the division during the Liberty Week celebrations in 1986 and during the Republican Governors Conference in Parsippany. The 1990s was another decade for growth within the division. It began with the opening of the Museum and Learning Center at division headquarters. For the first time, a college education would be required for promotion up through the ranks. Many division assets would be deployed to the World Trade Center bombing in 1993, and several related arrests were made by division detectives. Troopers from all across the state would perform security roles on the world stage as Pope John Paul II visited New Jersey, and the World Cup was hosted here. More technological advances would be realized with the implementation of a computer-aided dispatch system, and regional dispatch sites were formed. For the first time, road troopers would have instant access to criminal databases through mobile data terminals. With the advent of the Internet, the division quickly got ahead of technology and formed the High-Tech Crime Bureau. Mobile video recorders were installed in troop cars, beginning the wave of transparency efforts the division would undertake for the next 2 decades. Dozens of troopers would also assist with the TWA Flight 800 crash off Long Island. Also in 1996, the division would celebrate its 75th anniversary through several commemorative events in that calendar year. In the 2000s, the state police would see institutional overhauls following a consent decree. Several internal databases were established to increase transparency involving enforcement activities. The division continued to keep pace and exceed the national standard in using technology to fight crime. New forensic laboratories and other technological services were unveiled at the Hamilton Technology Center. The state police returned to some of its roots by returning motorcycle patrols to the Garden State Parkway and through cooperative policing partnerships in Camden and Irvington. The state police was instrumental in developing the Amber Alert program in New Jersey as a way to use the eyes of the motoring public to locate vehicles and people involved in recent child abductions. Following 9/11, the state police created the Homeland Security Branch and Task Force 1 to respond to large-scale disasters. In early 2007, the state police opened the Regional Operations Intelligence Center. The ROC was designed as a center to coordinate the collective efforts for federal, state, and local police agencies under one roof. The state police would see several major security challenges, including Super Bowl 48, the 2 Agudith religious services events. Troopers would also respond to rescue and recovery efforts following several hurricanes and other storms, both in New Jersey and in Puerto Rico. The state police would continue their cooperative policing efforts by establishing several real-time crime centers throughout New Jersey. These facilities were modeled similar to the ROC, but as even tighter-knit partnerships with local police agencies to combat crime as it is happening. The division comes into its 100th year still on the brink of technology by deploying body-worn cameras for uniformed personnel. Always remaining true to its roots, the state police prides itself on tradition, policing excellence, and compassion for the citizens we serve. And that is our strength, the strength which assures us that the state police will continue in the next 100 years as before, that honor, duty, and fidelity are not empty words, but words infused with the life of those who took them as their standard from that first day when they called themselves Jersey Troopers.